we'll do this one. We're gonna do a King Trout video. King Trout put out a video a couple weeks ago. All right. Trout put out a video about the man who accidentally destroyed the world twice. Considering all of us are still sitting here in this moment, I have to wonder what the hell he means destroyed the world twice. So, Revan, good question. Are we all in a simulation? Excellent question. So, let's find out, shall we?
A scientist in a lab coat develops a chemical that gives children brain damage. Decades later, he produces another chemical. This one burns holes in the sky. Is this some sort of cartoon supervillain? No. The twist is, he thought he was doing good all along. A man who some have called the unintentionally most destructive human being in history. A man you've probably never heard of due to the propaganda from multi-billion-dollar corporations. Thomas Midgley Jr. I'm King Trout, and I was once almost eaten by an alligator at 3 o'clock in the morning outside of a Wendy's in Miami, Florida, because I was drunk, and a Jamaican man wearing a pink fishnet shirt warned me about the alligator, but I couldn't understand his accent. Join me today as I...
That is probably one of the most King Trout things I have ever fucking heard. I believe every fucking word he just said. Truthfully. I think that legitimately happened. I could see it. I can picture it in my mind's eye right now. That entire chain of events happening.
Tell you the story of Thomas Midgley Jr. Thomas Midgley Jr. was born in 1889 in Beaver Falls, Pennsylvania, and raised in Columbus, Ohio. His father was an inventor, and his grandfather was a steel magnate. He was genetically designed to tinker with things. He graduated from Cornell University in 1911 with a degree in mechanical engineering. He was a smart guy. He was curious, but being as it was the early 20th century, he was completely unburdened by any environmental caution. In 1916, he was hired by Charles Kettering, who was a big deal at General Motors. Kettering was responsible for inventing the electric car starter. No need to go in front of your car and hand crank it to start it. Howdy do. Anyway, he needed a young mind to help collaborate on fuel research. Midgley was the perfect man for the job, and here's where the dominoes started falling. Back in the early 1920s,
Wait, what? Did you guys hear that? He says, Domino's, throws up a picture of Papa John, and you hear the Little Caesars mascot say pizza, pizza. Wait, are they all connected? Chat, are they all connected? It is part of the pizza mafia. They're all part of the same family. Who is the pizza godfather? I bet it's DiGiorno. I bet DiGiorno is the pizza godfather. I'll bet you anything.
cars were loud, unreliable, and prone to an issue called engine knock. I'm not going to explain to you how internal combustion engines work because your father should have done that when you were a child, but engine knock is essentially when the fuel explodes inside the cylinder before it's supposed to. Not only does this create an incredibly annoying knocking sound, it's also very destructive to the engine. It shortens the lifespan, it causes all sorts of technical issues, and it makes the driving experience feel as though you're piloting a blender full of gravel. Midgley was tasked with finding a chemical additive to prevent this knocking. Credit where credit's due, he tried everything. He tested over 33,000 compounds, including alcohols, aromatics, and metals. Until, in 1921, he hit the jackpot. Tetraethyl lead.
Wow.
It was cheap, effective, and only moderately homicidal. The addition of tetraethyl lead, or TEL for short, almost entirely eliminated engine knocking. Problem solved, right?
Nope.
Right? Here's the
Yeah.
theory. Lead, get this, is toxic.
Good.
But it
Not
was
good
the
for you.
1920s. They didn't know lead was toxic. Yeah, they did. You know who discovered that lead is toxic? The ancient Romans. Yeah, the Romans used it in their plumbing systems and noticed that it caused mass neurotoxicity.
Yay.
Oops. Workers at the so-called Ethel Corporation, where they made the stuff, started developing hallucinations, delirium, and some even died. They called the place the Looney Gas
Fuck.
Building. Midgley himself even developed lead poisoning during the research process and had to take a medical leave of absence to recover. But
And leave us not forget, if you get lead poisoning, that stays in your body forever. Once lead is in your system, it never leaves. That's the whole crux of the issue with like what's happening in Flint. Is that with the lead in the pipes, people drink the lead, that lead stays in your body. It never goes away. You do not expel the lead. It will remain in your body the entire time. So when he got lead poisoning, he's lead poisoned for fucking life. It's never getting out of his body.
instead of rethinking the whole endeavor, GM and Standard Oil launched a PR campaign claiming that TEL was safe. They marketed it under the cuter name Ethel. Because after all, it's not like a chemical named after someone's grandma can poison the entire world. Midgley even did live demonstrations, rubbing TEL on his skin and inhaling it, trying to prove how safe it was.
Oh, dear
Spoiler
God.
alert, not at all. In reality, TEL got into the air, the soil, and the water supply. It settled in the bloodstreams of children, causing stunted development and impaired cognition. Around the world, and especially in cities, lead levels skyrocketed. Entire generations of kids suffered the effects. Decreased IQs, attention problems, and behavioral issues. Not only does this explain why boomers are the way that they are, some researchers have tied this higher concentration of lead exposure to increases in crime rates in the later half of the 20th century, especially the 1970s. There's also a theory that this is why there was a spike in serial killers in the 1970s and 80s.
It's literally nicknamed the golden era of serial killers, which is kind of fucked up. I agree. I mean, if it causes brain damage, yeah,
Lead
it
can
would make
potentially
sense.
cause impotence in men.
Oh, I think that's just the tip of the iceberg, JRC. It's yeah. No, notice something that a lot of these guys, their faces, they're somewhat misshapen. Notice how the majority of these serial killers, their faces seem to be misshapen, which could be attributed to the lead poisoning. Because it's you know, this gentleman in particularly looks like almost looks like he exhibits the the facial characteristics of Down syndrome. Honestly, like especially like around the eyes. This looks like there could be Down syndrome at play here. Yeah, and again with the lead poisoning, we are talking about brain damage, so
1970s and 80s. The worst part being, all of this was preventable. Midgley's team had worked with other compounds, including ethanol, which worked just as well. The problem was, ethanol couldn't be patented and monetized. No profit to be made. Ethyl, on the other hand, they could. One of the most disturbing legacies of leaded gasoline isn't necessarily the environmental impact, it's the neurological impact that it had. Exposure to lead, especially in early childhood, has a profound and lasting impact on neurological development, especially on the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain responsible for decision-making, impulse control, and emotional regulation. Let's take a deeper look into what lead actually does to the human body.
Oh, I'm not gonna like this, am I? Especially with the fact that this was done to kids. I'm not gonna like this, am I?
Once inhaled or ingested, lead has no safe threshold. It is, like we learned about in the Kodak video, which you can watch here or there, wherever it comes up, a bone seeker. Your body treats it in the same way that it does calcium. Since it mimics the role of calcium, the human body happily absorbs it, especially children's
Ugh.
bodies. Their developing brain mistakes it for something useful and so builds it directly into the brain tissue. From there, the damage is systemic.
Fuck.
Neurotoxicity. Lead interferes with neurotransmitter release, synapse development, and myelin formation. Essentially, it fucks your shit up. It compromises your ability to think, learn, and control your behavior. Even moderate levels of lead exposure are directly tied to lower IQs, attention problems, and behavioral issues. It also messes with your dopamine and glutamate pathways, which are the chemicals responsible for mood and reward processing. This results in more depression, more aggression, and higher levels of impulsivity. Lead exposure causes kidney damage, hypertension, and it even screws up your ding-dong.
Fuck.
Seriously, it doesn't discriminate. It makes its way through your entire body, and it just...
Holy fuck. It basically just destroys you on that, like, as a whole. If you get lead, well, J10, chewing your pen, that's not lead, that's graphite. What is in your pencil is not actually lead. So while graphite's not great, it's not lead. But again, this is what Flint is dealing with. How many children and adults in Flint have already been affected in this way because of how many of them must have been exposed to moderate levels of lead because of their water system? With the issues with the lead in their water system. How many of them have already been affected with moderate amounts of lead, which causes all of these issues that Trout has just talked about? And they will never, as a reminder, they will never get better. None of them. They will have this for the rest of their lives. Because, again, lead does not go away. There is no way to purge lead out of your system.
Wreaks havoc. In other words, Midgley's fun little fuel additive didn't just make cars run a little bit smoother, it also biochemically rewired an entire generation of human beings. To this day, this lead exposure is strongly linked with persistent educational gaps, intergenerational poverty, and finally, our favorite, violent crime. You'd think with all this data, somebody would have pumped the brakes on leaded gasoline. But you'd be wrong. The lead lobby was a juggernaut. GM.
And here we fucking go. As usual, everything always boils down to money. Yes, leaded gasoline was basically a printing press of money back in the day. So yeah, he's talking about the leaded gasoline lobby was a juggernaut. The oil industry is even bigger of a juggernaut today, and you know that they push everything that goes through Congress in their favor. The more things change, the more they get worse. Honestly, yes, Mechanist, fuck corpos. 100%.
Standard Oil and DuPont all funded research to prove how safe leaded gasoline really was. And by
how
research,
fake was it?
I mean PR campaigns dressed up in lab coats, which they funded. The Public Health Service, compromised. Medical journals, paid for. Regulators, quietly sidelined. One of their favorite arguments was that lead occurs in nature. So it's fine.
Oh my god, I've heard this fucking argument about so much. Lead occurs in nature. It can't be bad. Motherfucker, so does arsenic. Go suck down some arsenic right now. That's naturally occurring in nature. Go consume about, a couple grams of arsenic and try and tell me the same thing. Fucking uranium. Although, fun fact, I will give you a fun fact. A single gram of uranium, I forget which specific one it is. Like, there is a specific uranium, I don't think it's 235. It's, that's where I'm going, Rebin. Yeah, a single gram of uranium has enough calories for the entirety of your life. If you were dumb enough to consume 1 gram of uranium, you would have all the calories that you would ever need. You would never be hungry ever again. You'd be dead 5 seconds later, but you'd never need calories again. You know? So that's a little fun fact. And yes, Terrarian, mercury is naturally occurring. There's so much fucking naturally occurring shit that will kill you. The fact of the matter is, probably about half of the stuff that exists on this floating rock in space is actually purpose-built, designed by nature to kill you. It is only by sheer luck that humanity developed the level of intelligence needed to be able to avoid all of these things that will kill us. But yeah, most of the stuff that naturally exists that is on the periodic table, if you were to consume it or encounter it in its natural form, you would fucking die. So the whole thing about lead is natural, fuck off with that shit right now.
Which is fucking retarded, because that's like saying, well, volcanoes exist, so it's okay that your house is on fire. Two things can be true at the same time. They downplayed cases of lead toxicity as isolated incidents, and even by the 70s, when lead-based paint was banned and unleaded gasoline started showing up, it was already too late. The damage was done. The soil was saturated and blood levels of lead stayed elevated for years. And it wasn't until the 1990s, 70 years after TEL hit the market, that it began to get banned in most developed countries. And in developing nations, well, it stuck around until 2021.
God.
4 years ago. And in the 1990s, researchers found a startling correlation between a large spike in crime in the United States of America and a spike in lead exposure levels on a 20-year lag. Those who were exposed to higher levels of lead in their childhood would go on to be impulsive, aggressive, and violent adults.
I will also postulate something. It's not simply in the blood. I would postulate that these microscopic levels of lead that are in people's bloodstreams was communicable through sex and was actually in possibly the eggs or the sperm. That is entirely possible. Is it too quiet? I can raise the volume on that. Yeah, it is entirely possible that with that 20-year gap, that could also be when these children were born, because I think it's entirely possible that lead could be transmitted from men into women via sexual intercourse, and that lead-laden sperm could fertilize the egg, and now you have the lead that is in the egg, which formulates into into an embryo, and that lead is then baked into the development of that fetus. The quantities would be minimal, Norm, but as we just heard, even minimal quantities of heavy metals can fuck you up. Like, that literally would cause developmental disabilities or developmental issues literally at the formation of the fetus. You know? And that's even before you account for if the mother has lead in her bloodstream. Leave us not forget that when the baby is developing in the womb, it's not transmissible. Okay, it was a theory. Maybe it doesn't work. But leave us not forget, with the development of the baby inside the womb, if the mother has lead in her bloodstream, is it possible that maybe that lead could be also transmitted into the child through perhaps the umbilical cord? Maybe. I don't know. It's certainly possible. Anyway, it's a theory. An ember theory. Oh God, I hope I don't get copyright hits to that by Matt Pat. Although he's retired now, so I should be fine.
Midgley didn't just invent a gasoline additive, he also helped write the script for a decades-long wave of behavioral development issues, decreased IQs, and increased violent crime. And just in case you thought our boy Tommy Midge was a one-hit wonder of doom, think again. In the early 1930s, refrigerators were kind of terrifying. They all used either ammonia, methyl chloride, or sulfur dioxide as a coolant, all of which are toxic, all of which are flammable, and are sometimes explosive. If your fridge leaked, not only would you get soggy lettuce, which in and of itself is a tragedy, your kitchen would also become a gas chamber. Or if there was a smoker in the house, or you started your oven, your kitchen might be more of an open concept. At this point in time, our boy Midgley worked at Frigidaire, which was a subsidiary of GM, and they tasked him with finding a better refrigerant. And boy howdy did he.
Oh, fuck, now we're into Freon. You know, we're into Freon now, aren't we? The ozone killer. Yeah. There we go.
He synthesized a family of chemicals which were odorless, non-toxic, and non-flammable. You may have heard of them. Chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs for short. He named his new chemical Freon, and it worked great. No more exploding refrigerators. No more poison gas. Refrigerators, air conditioners, and aerosol sprays all went full-on Freon. Problem solved, right? Obviously not, that's why we're here. Decades later, scientists noticed something strange. The ozone layer, a protective layer of the Earth's atmosphere that shields us from deadly ultraviolet radiation, was disappearing over Antarctica. The cause? Good old CFCs. Turns out when chlorofluorocarbons make their way into the upper atmosphere, they're broken down by ultraviolet radiation, and the freed chlorine violently interacts with the ozone. One single released chlorine atom can destroy 100,000 ozone molecules before it's neutralized. And those CFCs, that was weak. They were everywhere. They were in AC units, they were in refrigerators, they were in industrial solvents, they were even in hairspray.
And therein comes the joke from the 80s. Strays who are alive back in the 80s, how many of you remember the jokes about, or the warnings about, stop using fucking hairspray, you're destroying the ozone layer? Yeah. Although I do have to wonder, what is in hairspray cans now? What are they using as a propellant in hairsprays now? I haven't looked recently to see what the propellant is. Did they change out Freon in modern hairspray? Is it butane? Did they switch over to butane? I mean, I distinctly remember hearing about with what was it? Deodorant. I think. Well, it was hairspray and deodorant, like that they would there was the whole thing, you'd see it in movies where they would use hairspray or spray deodorant, hold up a lighter and instant Flammenwerfer with those cans. And I'm thinking that was the butane. Late 90s they switched. Yeah, I'm thinking that's when they may have done that switch to butane, where you basically could turn your hairspray or deodorant spray into a flamethrower, which was used in movies all the time. Yeah. Was Freon ignitable too? I wasn't sure about that. If you did that to Freon, it would do the same thing.
This was the only time in human history where all countries agreed on something legislation-wise. Also, we're lucky this guy wasn't an intentional supervillain.
Oh, I think that could be said about a lot of our inventors of days gone by, Revan. A lot of them. When science, in comparison to today, when science was in its more youthful stages, I think there is a lot of scientists that made discoveries where people are going, thank fucking God he was on our side.
Casually, invisibly, and globally been destroying our own planet's ultraviolet radiation protection for decades. And Midgley, well, at this point in time, he was long gone, but his greasy little chemical-stained fingerprints were all over it. Skin cancer rates began to climb, entire ecosystems were nearly destroyed, especially phytoplankton, which are incredibly sensitive to ultraviolet radiation. But shockingly, the world actually responded in time. The Montreal Protocol of 1987 is still held up as the gold standard of international cooperation.
Yeah.
It worked. CFCs were internationally banned, alternatives were found, and today, the ozone layer is slowly healing. But the kicker is that CFCs have a lifespan of 50 to 100 years, so we're still living in Midgley's chemical afterglow. By the early 1940s, Midgley was still a highly respected chemist. He was a member of the National Academy of Sciences, and he was president of the American Chemical Society. He had also received multiple...
Revan, I don't know if this is why Australia has holes in its ozone right now. As Trout was just saying, this stuff sticks around for 50 to 100 years, so it's possible that what you're talking about with Australia is a holdover from what happened back in, like the back in the 60s and 70s. Once that shit got sprayed into the air, it's sticking around for a while. You're going to see lingering effects. So it's entirely possible. Yes.
Sciences, and he was president of the American Chemical Society. He had also received multiple honorary degrees. In 1940, Midgley contracted polio, which left him severely disabled.
Yes, he said that.
But true to form, he wasn't going to stay still. He invented a bed which had an elaborate system of pulleys and ropes in order to lift him in and out. Then in
How long do you think it took before the kinky community saw this and went, okay, I have an idea. It's almost scary. What do you think I'm talking about? Yeah. People that are kinky, you've seen this. You have seen this. They can be fun. They can indeed. Oh, more than the swings, Getty.
Tragedy struck. He became entangled in the ropes of his machine and was strangled to death. A type of cruel, ironic twist you'd only see in a Greek tragedy. A man who created so many invisible dangers meets his own end through mechanical hubris.
Yeah, maybe he just needed to have a proper partner with him and safe words. I'm just saying, we don't know for sure. We don't know what his kinks were like, He might have been, he might have been enjoying himself. We don't know. We weren't there.
Own end through mechanical hubris. Here's the kicker. Midgley wasn't a monster. He was curious. He was an inventor. He was trying to solve problems. Okay, engine knock that was destroying automobiles, toxic refrigerants. He just accidentally created much larger problems that outlasted him by decades. TEL was only finally globally banned in 2021. CFCs were globally banned by the Montreal Protocol in 1987, but both will continue to have lasting ecological impacts on the planet for potentially centuries to come. Environmental historian John Robert McNeil once said that Midgley had the greatest environmental impact of any single organism in the Earth's history. Think about that. Not Mustache Man, not Genghis Khan, or Genghis Khan, as people who think they're smart pronounce it nowadays. One man, Thomas Midgley. That's all it took. His story is a terrifying parable about unchecked innovation, scientific tunnel vision, and corporate greed. Let's play the alternate timeline game. What if Midgley hadn't invented tetraethyl lead? Well, in all likelihood, ethanol would have been used as the fuel additive to prevent engine knocking. It's renewable, it's biodegradable, and it's way less toxic than lead. What if Freon hadn't been synthesized? Well, refrigeration probably would have advanced slightly more slowly, honestly, but other systems like CO2 or ammonia systems could have been synthesized earlier on and without blowing a giant fuck-off hole in our atmosphere. Midgley didn't invent the best solutions for the problems. He invented the solutions that were profitable, scalable, and patentable. Ones that are great for corporations to make millions and for the rest of us to go get fucked. Historians have actually coined.
As always, are we seeing a pattern here with many of Trout's videos? There's always one overriding factor in just about every single one of his videos. Do you know what it is, chat? Have you picked up the clues of the one thing that is present in every single one of his videos? Chat, call me crazy. I think I could be way off base here. I could be completely off base here, but I don't think Trout likes corporations. Call it a hunch. I strongly suspect he has a very serious issue with the corporations. Justifiably so. Let me preface that. Justifiably so. Considering what we have been seeing as of late in current events, I can be 100% on board with this. Absolutely.
The term the Midgley paradox, which encapsulates this entire idea, wherein someone may have good intentions to solve a problem, but in solving that problem, they've unintentionally ruined everything for everyone else. The road to hell paved with et cetera, and all that, you know. You don't have to be evil to be dangerous. You can just be really good at solving problems well, but wrong. Thomas Midgley Jr. was never tried in court. There were no consequences to his actions. He died at the hands of his own machine in 1944 and was remembered in obituaries as a brilliant inventor. It could very, very easily be argued that he single-handedly had the most devastating impact on the planet of any human being in our history, but you probably haven't heard of him because these companies, Standard Oil, GM, they did a lot of work to cover up what damage they had done. And the idea is that he normalized chemical quick fixes to more lasting problems, kicking the can down the road, if you will, still last in modern industry. That's why there are PFAs in our drinking water and microplastics in your balls. Every century has...
Sorry, guys. At this point, you're nothing but biological Mr. Happies. That's not the thing from Cyberpunk. I forget what the name of the implant is in Cyberpunk. I'm drawing a blank on it right now. But just you all, yeah. Well, you guys, just face facts. Yes, thank you, Steve. Yes, you guys are all packing literal Mr. Studs right now. Just accept it. Just accept it.
It's Midgley's. Well-intended people with tunnel vision and a corporate paycheck. So here's the moral. Progress without precaution isn't genius. It's gambling. As always, I've been King Trout. I'll see you when I see you. Love you. Bye.
No, that was a somewhat horrifying way to end the stream. Thank you, Trout. I will now have nightmares tonight about the ozone evaporating and wondering if I have lead currently in my bloodstream.